A man flew down from the sky and risked his life to save us. Not for a reward or fame, but just because we needed help. Don't you want to know who that person is?
You're right. I need to know.
Let me ask you a question. You ever watch something and you just instantly know you'll end up loving it? Like the second that you hit play and see the first 5 to 10 minutes, you know you're in for the whole ride? Because that's how I feel right now. So, let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome to the Void Theater. As always, I'm your host Alexander, and we're here to talk about the newest DC superhero show, My Adventures with Superman. Yes, after 3 years of back and forth tug of war and a merger deal that will go down in failure history, the show has finally flown out of limbo and onto Max. It's on Max. Not HBO Max, just Max. God damn it, every time I say it, it just makes me angrier. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that the show has finally been released on Adult Swim, Max, and for most of you realistically on some pirating website. But the point remains that it's out, it's free, and that means that it's a fair game for a review. So, how does the newest Man of Steel hold up in this modern take? And more importantly, how well does he hold up against the Superman who came before him? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. The good and the bad of the newest version of the Man of Steel. And as always, if you enjoyed, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. But without any further ado, we can begin. So let's raise the curtain, put this show on stage, and see how it plays out. Alright, so let's start with the thing that's realistically going to be the most upsetting for people, and that's the art style. Now I feel that with an art style like this, you're going to fall into one of two categories. If you spend any amount of time watching anime, then this isn't going to be that jarring for you. If you haven't, then this is going to cause some shell shock. The show is, to put it mildly, anime as hell. Everything in the show is bright and all the environments and the characters have these vibrant colors that just pop. It's a stark contrast to the original series run where everything felt more dulled, but the show makes it work so well. Yeah, it's anime as hell, but it matches the vibe the show has. The entire show feels like I'm watching this weird mix of old school Golden Age comics brought back for a new generation. I feel like if you're going to go out of your way to give a classic icon like Superman or Batman a fresh feel, then this is the way to do it. Even with only 2 episodes out, this show just feels good to watch. As for the character designs, I'm gonna be honest, they're great. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I missed this design of Superman. The one who's built like a Tonka truck come to life. To me, that was always what made Superman so amazing. He was this gigantic figure with a heart of gold. A literal gentle giant that could bench press a building without breaking a sweat, but was also soft enough to carry an old lady across the street without causing any damage. And this show captures that perfectly. It reminds me of the feel of the Justice League cartoon. There, he was just as massive, but he always talked about how he pulled his punches because he was scared of hurting the people around him. And he has that same vibe here. Strong enough to smash a clock without a second thought, but still trying to be human and fix the mistakes that come with his power. Then we have Lois and Jimmy. Design-wise, Jimmy's fine. It's a simple design that captures who he is as a character, and I can respect that. The Lois here is probably one of the major changes from what we know, but like Clark's design, it just fits. The entire theme of this show is that it's about a younger, more inexperienced supergroup, and even with that in mind, you can see how she becomes the star reporter that she is later down the line. As for the animation, it has that same issue as the design choice I mentioned earlier. It's anime as hell, and that's mainly due to the fact that the show's animation team is the same team that worked on Voltron and Avatar. And you can feel the show's influence bleed into this one. The animation is smooth and fluid, and aside from some weird bumps, I didn't really notice anything off-putting. So it's a solid yes from me. But I will admit that like the art direction, if you're not a fan of anime, it might be a major turnoff for you. But moving on, let's talk about the character personalities. And we'll start with Lois because she's the easiest one. She's arrogant, bullheaded, and honestly a little bratty. And normally this will make me angry, but honestly for this show, it fits. Just from the pilot you get the feeling that she wants to make a name for herself as a reporter, and that she does feel bad for how she treated Clark and Jimmy doing that. To me, this is an unfinished version of Lois. One who's learning to be a reporter, but not at the expense of everything else. And just from the first 2 episodes, you can already imagine her turning into the Lois Lane we're used to seeing. And best of all, it feels natural, like you're watching a real progression instead of just some rushed development. Then we have Jimmy. And look, I wish I could tell you that Clark or Superman was the peak of this show in personalities. I really do, but it's Jimmy. I love Jimmy here. So for anyone who's never read the comics, Jimmy is arguably either the luckiest or unluckiest person in existence. At times he can be dating a hot supervillain, other times he's a giant turtle monster. Honestly, flip the coin on where he falls. But back in the day, he was this weird character who got himself into trouble all the time. Usually because he was off doing increasingly stupid things that attracted unwanted attention. And it's so satisfying to see that version of him brought to life here. This version of Jimmy is a fast-talking jokester with a smart mouth, who's also Clark's best friend. So he's exactly what Jimmy should be in any form of media. I also love the fact that he's a conspiracy theorist who thinks that every possible news story is just another cover-up. And he's also a solid wingman to Clark. This right here, this is peak Jimmy Olsen. But let's be honest, you're here because you want to talk about the boy in blue, so how is this new Superman? Well, he's a happy, slightly childish, good-natured, soft-hearted guy who's just trying to be as human as he can while doing the best he can with his powers. In short, he's absolutely perfect. Remember what I said about the character's appearance? Well, the same thing applies here. This is exactly what Superman should be. He should be old-fashioned. He should be this overly optimistic. He should just be there to help. This show honestly reminds me why I came to love both Clark Kent and Superman, because they both just want to help make Metropolis a better place. The best example is literally in the first episode. Just Clark running to his first day on the job, trying to be as normal as possible, and then he uses his super speed to save a cat from a tree. Because of course he does. He's Superman. This is his first day at his brand new job, and he'll still save a cat out of a tree, because that's what Superman does. Is it corny?
Maybe.
Is it hokey?
Maybe.
Is it extremely old-fashioned?
Maybe.
But you know what? Above all else, it's Superman. And at his core, Superman is those things brought to their peak. Watching this show felt like watching a Superman from the Superman the Animated Series. They both encapsulate that same wholesome attitude that makes Superman, Superman. All in all, this show is damn near perfect, and I don't really think anything could ever ruin it.
That's easy, Willis. We're the good guys.
Of course something can go wrong, and I'm a jackass for thinking otherwise. Alright, let's get this out of the way. Out of all the things I love about this show, I can openly admit that Deathstroke so far is arguably a weakness. Now, unlike most people, I don't think his recent design is terrible. I mean, it's not good, but it's not terrible. But what really gets me is his voice actor. Now, I've never done a video on the show, but I'm a massive fan of Archer. I'm also moderately annoyed at Rick and Morty, but I hate myself, so I keep watching it. The point being, I like Chris Parnell as a voice actor. The problem is that he always uses the same tone of voice in all his work, which is usually fine when he's playing someone who's supposed to come off as nerdy and nasally. That is not how I would describe Deathstroke the goddamn Terminator. And once you recognize Jerry's voice, it becomes very distracting, which isn't helped by the fact that he speaks a lot in the second episode. Again, I'm not going to harp on the outfit because it seems like something he just threw on to make the deal, and this isn't his fully kitted out suit, but that voice is going to throw some people for a loop. As for the idea of Waller being the big bad of the first season, I really do think that makes sense. Waller has always hated the Justice League and more specifically Superman, so I could see her viewing his first appearance as the catalyst for something far worse happening. But with her at the helm, it opens up branching past with her ties to the government. She could be the one to make Lex take notice of Superman, or have the government be the ones to unearth Doomsday, or even be the first person to encounter Brainiac. I can't say she would have been my first pick, but if the leaks are anything to go by, we'll have way bigger fish to fry in the later seasons, so it's not like it's gonna matter anyway. So, with all that being said, should you watch My Adventures with Superman? And the answer is a full-fledged yes. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I was this invested in a show just off the pilot alone, and if I'm being real, I'm probably gonna go rewatch both episodes again later. Any small complaints I had about this show are so heavily outweighed by the good it does, and I can't wait to see what the next episodes bring. So I'm giving My Adventures with Superman a 9 out of 10. I can't wait to see where the show goes, but I'm sold off as of now. But with that, we come to the conclusion on the review of My Adventures with Superman. And as always, I'll leave you with some questions. What are your thoughts on the show so far? And what villain would you like to make an appearance? Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, as always, I've been your host Alexander, and I hope to see you back in my theater.